Mhm. Rahima.
Yes. Are we live now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, hello everybody. Welcome to today's live session brought to you by Line for Dev. I'm Rahma Wasti, marketing executive here at Line for Dev, and I'm thrilled to be your host for this intriguing discussion today. We're diving into a topic that's probably touched all of our lives at some point, whether we like to admit it or not. We're talking about why we love the office gossip, the psychology behind workplace chatter. So, joining me is none other than the founder of LandProDev, a man with profound insights into human behavior and business dynamics, Mr. Philip Cutting. Philip, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rahima. You're very kind. But I'm excited to be here and to dive into this topic. It's a lot of fun, and there's some things we need to consider to make sure that we keep a healthy environment, both for the people that work for us, people we work for, and with, and also there's going to be some concepts that spill over into client interactions. So this is a
Absolutely.
pretty interesting topic, especially with the way things are progressing with automation, AI, and we're going to dive into that.
Definitely. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone to like, share, and share this live session if you find it valuable. Also, make sure to subscribe to our social media channels to stay updated with the latest discussion, insights, and updates. Let's start with the basics of this topic, office gossip. It's often seen as a negative, but is it bad? Is it that bad? And why do you think we're so drawn to it?
Okay, so that's a good question. Now, while gossip does have a bad reputation, it is really a part of our nature to have these side communications and to want to share secrets, or even just to get something off of our chest
Yeah,
for expression, right? And it's just a way that we share information. We build connections through this, and sometimes we even show off what we know, and we gain some value from that, right?
agree.
Uh, and when we realize that this is just human nature, right? Just like anything else, it's all about having a balance to it. And gossip can either foster a bit of a sense of belonging or create division and really bring in problems to a workforce. So it all depends on how it's handled and the nature of the company and the kind of chemistry between the people that are communicating.
I
And
completely.
there's another side to gossip on the virtual water cooler. So, for example, we have Reddit, we have online private groups and platforms just like Glassdoor. And if you're not providing your clients and contractors and employees a place to vent that you can control, they're going to take it out of your reach. And then you have to worry about putting out those fires that you can't see, and this becomes a sabotage rather than just gossipy
Yes.
communications.
I completely agree to that, Phil. And from my experience, gossip can be sometimes really therapeutic and it can help people feel more connected, especially in large organizations where personal connections might otherwise be lacking. But of course, there's a fine line between healthy chatter and toxic gossip. And definitely, a toxic gossip can make you feel the other way. Let's dig a bit deeper into the psychology behind this gossip. Philip, why do you think people are so quick to engage in gossip, even when they know it might not be entirely very productive?
Sure. So it's just rooted in our psychology, right? Gossip gives us a way to relieve stress, anxiety, and to connect. And
Mhm.
it's also a way a lot of people bond socially. So we're wired to connect with others and to follow a certain group think and to share information to kind of show that our value, right? So even if it's about somebody else, it can feel rewarding. So that said, the impact of gossip depends largely on the intent behind it and kind of on the culture of the that community that you're in. right? So it could be received different, like in the Southeast America, the southern states, or versus Boston, right? Versus New York versus West Coast California, you name it, right? Every kind of region has their own kind of philosophies around it and their culture around it. So it's good to kind of realize the culture that you're in. And while this sounds obvious, a lot of Americans, a lot of us, we move a lot, right? So we may be in an area where we didn't grow up in, right? And the culture, we may just have to kind of step back a little bit and say, hey, is my first instinct right about this, right? Or is this kind of like just the way people, BS here, right? It's there's a lot behind it.
I understand. So it's interesting how something so tiny, so trivial, can be linked to such deeper psychological needs like validation and belonging. But I suppose it is also about being mindful of the impact of our words can have, the impact that our words can have. And now let's talk about navigating gossip in the workplace. If someone finds themselves in the middle of a gossip chain, what advice would you give to them? And how can they manage it without getting drawn into negativity, which happens a lot of times?
Yeah, it's natural to feel like offended or to get
Attacked,
angry or
yeah.
stressed out, right? But firstly, it's important to just assess the situation. And if the gossip is harmless, right, it might be okay to engage lightly, to play back. Um, I like to like tone down a rough situation with some humor sometimes, and it can be a little deprecating. I'm saying this wrong, but I think everybody knows what I'm trying to say. Right? You can make little jokes about yourself if it's heading this way. And this is a good way to tone down a situation, right? And to
Yeah.
also kind of turn it around and to have a little bit of fun with those around, right? Turn around is fair play. But if it's toxic or harmful, it's better to steer the conversation in a different direction, or even to um, to get an ally to help get things a bit under control, right? So if you feel like it's getting cruel, right, or out of hand, I think it's always good to handle it head on. If that doesn't work, bring in an ally. Um, but try to bring just a good positive force into the workplace. And this good energy, most of the time, is enough to turn it around and to help alleviate the situations. And sometimes just listening is not a bad thing to do, right? In every kind of
Exactly.
gossip, rumor, dark joke, right? There's tends to be a little bit of truth, so look for that and see if there maybe is a little time for some introspection.
Yeah, at times we can ignore that, we can take it as a light joke, or we can just shrug it off by sarcasm. I found that redirecting the conversation to something more constructive can be effective as well.
Yep.
It's about changing the narrative and focusing on solutions rather than problems. On a related note, how can understanding office dynamics, including gossip, play a role in skill development and networking?
Oh, so understanding the office dynamics are going to help give you a strategic advantage, right? By knowing who are the influencers that are, who the influencers are, what are the motivations that are the undercurrents in the office, and then kind of learn to navigate your career more effectively just by being aware that this is part of every workforce, right? When you're dealing with humans, we have motivations, we have needs, right? And some of them aren't always as obvious or healthy as they should be. So a little bit of social intelligence goes a long ways, and it's a skill that you have to develop, right? So for the entrepreneurs, right, you have to learn the skill when you're dealing with clients and when you're managing people, right? For employees, you have to build up this skill set so that you can get the early warning signs of when your career is coming off track or how to get it on track. I'm not saying to use gossip as a weapon, but to realize it's out there, to listen to what's going on, and to learn from the situation. And this is also important for leaders to do, because they need to kind of be hearing what's going on in the workspace, so that they're able to lead and to manage things before they get out of control also. So it's just a skill, soft skill in some ways, that you build as you get older. It's normal.
Yeah, that's some solid point, Phil. I think it's also important to focus on developing your skills so you're seen as someone who contributes positively to the workplace rather than just someone who is in the know. And how has the rise of digital communication platforms impacted office gossip? Is it easier or harder to manage now that so much of our interaction is online?
Digital communication has really changed the game when it comes to inside politics, to gossip, to how you communicate, to what is, it's so easy to say something so quick, and it's
Yeah,
out there forever, right? And people are screenshotting it, they're copying it, uh,
yeah,
you know, and sometimes autocorrect gives us a good laugh, right? But sometimes we just respond to things a little too quick, and it's always out there. So the digital world has made this a hazard, and
mhm,
certainly there's been a number of careers that have ended over this, right? Just like there's a number of careers that have ended over bad interviews, right? This whole digital communication is it can really come. It's too much convenience at the wrong time if you're a fiery spirit, right? So the key is just to be mindful of how we communicate online, and
exactly.
remember that once something is out there, you can't take it back, right? You have
Mhm.
to either apologize, move on, or move out sometimes, right? But just know that it's out there forever, and sometimes catch
It's
your breath.
true, so true. The permanence of digital communications means that we need to be even more careful and about what we say and how we say it. As you said, that there is no coming back. It's about maintaining professionalism even in casual conversation.
Oh
Building on
yeah.
that, what advice do you have for professionals navigating their careers in today's increasingly digital world, and where office gossip might not just be confined to the physical office?
Okay. Um, there's a couple levels to this. So first of all, you want to see what is the gossip on sites like Glassdoor or Reddit, right? There's
Mhm.
places that people go to complain about certain companies online anonymously, right? And you'll want to check those out to see if there's stuff going on inside a place that you want to work at, but also to keep your eye open as you work at the places. And
Absolutely.
if there's changes in management, if there's changes in ownership, right, or every
Mhm.
just once in a while, you want to take a look at these sites and to see if there's things that you're not familiar with, or to see how it's affecting other people, right? For managers, super super important. I always do this when I'm looking at partnering with people, with organizations, right? Or even if I'm looking to take on corporate clients, right? I look at their reputation to see how they treat their employees, what their employees are saying about them, people who have been fired or who quit, or just the anonymous sites that out there to see what's going on. And some of this helps you realize who are the key stakeholders, who is motivated in certain ways, right? Just the situation that's really going on inside. And another side of that is that you always have to have your personal brand. As you know, I'm a huge advocate for building your personal brand and building one that proceeds ahead of you, so that you can both help the companies that you work for or with, in my case, and also so that when there's rumors that spread about you, right,
Yeah.
or true or false gossip, right, the reputation capital that you have out in the world can go a long ways. Leadership capital is another thing. If you've read the book um, Extreme Ownership, and then
Yes.
the following book, Extreme Leadership, it talks about having every leader has a certain amount of leadership capital, and he either builds on top of that or he draws from it like a bank. right? And you draw from it from a bank by doing things that are forcing people to do things that they don't
Yes.
want to do, right? So it's like if I said, Rima, um, dang it, go wash my car for me, like right now, right? And you'd be like, well, Phil,
Yeah.
that sounds a little bit rude, but okay, I
Exactly.
know you long
Exactly.
enough and you don't ask weird stuff like that. So, okay, cool. Now, if I did this like every day for a week, you're going to be like, Phil, are you just messing with me because you're a jerk? Right? Like, what's going on? But if I have a certain amount of leadership, and then I was like, afterwards, like, okay, hey, you saved me. This was whatever, right? I get some of that leadership back and maybe a little more, and maybe there's something I have to do to to kind of make it right when you do unusual things, right? So this is the concept of both branding and leadership capital, and just it's a matter of developing the skills to recognize when you're drawing, when you're building, to have the skills to communicate your personal brand out in the world, and
Exactly.
the effort to do it, right? It all comes with effort. Um, but it's no matter what, we all have personal brands, and I think this is one of the first places that we can focus on directly to get ahead of any problems. And even if we find ourselves in the middle of the mess, uh, focusing on that personal brand, going back to the values, reevaluating yourself, this helps you counter negative gossip and maybe even help define you in a healthier view.
Exactly, and it's also about creating a network of trusted colleagues and surround yourself with people whom you can really trust and who know your true character. That can help counter any negative narratives that might rise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's something I want to kind of talk about, right? Because we're talking about branding and this draws us into the future, right? In the future, we have this revolution that we're living in right now. It's super exciting. We have
It
AI
is.
coming, it's replacing a lot of jobs. We have robots that are going to be replacing even more jobs, right? Right now
Yes.
in America, we have a lot of industrial manufacturing coming back, but it's without people, right? They're entire factories without people working in there, right? All they do is they put on a spacesuit, they go in, they fix something or adjust a machine, and they get out of there, right? And there's just no people in there other than some technicians on occasion, right? And some guys, a
Exactly.
couple guys controlling it, right? We're going to be in a world, and just like that's now. In a little bit, in China, they have like all these automated robots that do humanistic tasks, right? In America, we have a lot of we're coming up. I think we're a little bit behind in China, but maybe it just looks that way, right? So there's going to be a time here. Elon Musk is making $20,000 personal androids, right? It can replace a
Mhm.
person for $20,000. And if you look at what this comes out to a year, it's less than an employee, right? So I think to get back to my point, we're coming up in a time where work is going to become a social need, right? Because we need to feel productive. Humans need this, and I think we're going to have a time where people have to um, create businesses that give people
Exactly.
meaning, right? And I don't know if it's going to become like a government policy that says, "Hey, if you do this, we'll support you," right? I mean, it's almost certain that we're going to have a universal income to make sure that we have some entertainment money and some food and be able to still have a capitalistic kind of approach to a socialist society, right? And I don't mean like communist socialism, right? But
I mean,
what are
I
we going
get
to
it.
do when the robots are farming for us? There's abundance. There's plenty of energy if we can solve the energy problem. There's a lot of creativity, and you can
That's gonna be very threatening, I believe.
yeah, right. And it's the saddest thing is I we're going to have a lot of people that feel useless, right?
Yeah,
And
you're
for
right.
men, you need to have a use, right? We can't do like women, like make children, right? To fill our lives with this kind of human meaning, right?
I
Men, I think,
agree.
are going to be disproportionately affected by this. So what I'm saying is we're going to have this place where we can feel these meaningful work, and a lot of it ties back to this water cooler concept that we need to have connections, we need to gossip, we need to go out and be creative, and to bring human connections through some kind of work. I don't know what that's going to look like. Have you thought
Exactly.
about this at all?
That can come out like sarcasm or humor or in whatever way, but it has to come out in some one way or another since we're losing the connection and because of the digital communication and everything.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So it's either going to be in digital or real life, but this cycle is there.
Exactly. So we're gonna move on to the other things that has been sent by our audience, and
Okay. This will be
we're
fun.
okay. So we're gonna move on to that and open ourselves to the questions which we got from our audience. The first one is, what should you do if you find yourself in the subject of office gossip?
Okay. So hopefully the gossip is amazing and that it's like you're 10 foot tall and you can bench press 400 kilos. If it's the other kind of gossip, right, which is probably what we're concerned about, the look at the negative, look at it, first of all, and say,
I
hey,
don't think so that is going to happen.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. So probably it's negative, right? And
No, no,
we have
it's
to
not
look
going to
at
be
it.
negative. I was saying that
Mhm.
in your case, it's not going to be negative. I was saying this.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you, dear. No, no, you should see the mean things that people say to me. I've heard. I've heard. You got, but you're not going to tell me, huh? Okay. Okay. You're sweet. The but let's say it's negative, right? So how do you handle some negative gossip that's and maybe somebody's making up about you, right? Um, or that you feel like they made up, right? So maybe it's just something you don't want to deal with. Couple things. Just go up to the person, right, without a bat, right, and say, hey, this is kind of like not cool what you're doing, right? Why? What are you trying to achieve by spreading this kind of rumors, right? And they come back and say it's because blah 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 blah, right? Sometimes let them get off your chest, right? So and maybe if there needs to be an apology, get it out there, right? Just go ahead and say, hey,
Exactly.
wow, I didn't realize that my behavior was causing this kind of situation, and I'll work on that, right? Don't apologize twice for something, right? But so the one sincere apology, do something to kind of make it up, right? And that should be fair. Now, if it continues and if it accelerates at that point, right, you need to perhaps bring in another friend, bring in somebody from your network to talk to this
Mhm.
person. Say, hey, what's going on? Maybe we need to arbitrate this a little bit, right? Maybe your apology wasn't considered sincere to them, or maybe they're just being jerks, right? The second person is going to help balance that and to bring things to a little bit of attention that maybe this is not appropriate way to be dealing with people, right? If this doesn't work, it should become a leadership thing where either HR or the manager or somebody in the chain that's respected needs to get in there and kind of cut things at a bud. Maybe the gossip about me is really true and I'm a total meanie, right? And I shouldn't make you wash my car every day, right? And somebody just says, Phil, stop that now, right? Um, or maybe, maybe it's the other guy, right? At some points, it's better to deal with it head on because you deserve to have calmness in your work, right? And you should either be able to move on, fix the situation, or somebody should get fired, right? When it comes to really bad situations, I like to tone things down with a little bit of humor. I like to have ahead of time my personal brand, and I like to, like oh, what's that book on war? Sarge's book. I like to win the battle before I ever go out to fight, right? So I like to have my personal branding and to try to cut problems off before they start to stink a little bit. I think that's the best way to deal with it.
That's nice. That's nice. Pretty much answered a lot of my questions that I need to follow as well. So, how does gossip differ from constructive feedback or open discussion?
So gossip tends to be kind of behind your back, right? It's stuff people are saying not to you. Constructive feedback goes right to you, right? And constructive feedback is great, even if it's uncomfortable, right? if you can develop a little bit of a hard skin around constructive feedback, then it really helps you go a long ways in your career. Now, sometimes the person giving you constructive feedback shouldn't be given feedback in the first place. Sometimes they need to take out the log in their own eye before they worry about the splinter in yours, right? But if you're feeling like it's not constructive, if it's feeling mean, right, address it head on. Say, hey, sometimes just calling something out is a great way to handle it, right? So this is one approach. If somebody's like saying, hey, Phil, I think you have really bad hair, right? And it's really offensive to me. Like your blonde hair is just makes me so angry, right? I'd be like, wow, man, I kind of understand where you're coming from, right? It's all falling out. I get it. So just wait a little longer and there won't be a problem, right? This kind of joke might get it over with, right? But if they go, yeah, no, I just hate you, right? And then, at that point, maybe you have another issue that you need to delegate out, right? But that's yeah, right. This is kind of like mean stuff, right? You handle this very differently, right? But if it's like, hey, Phil, your shoes kind of smell, right? Mm-hmm. You make the office smell a little bad, and I kind of wish you'd do something about that, right? It's an awkward, maybe a painful thing for me to hear, right? And maybe I should be like, wow, maybe I shouldn't wear my gym shoes to work, right? And then you do a little, you take the critique and you improve, right? And hopefully they thank you later for stop wearing gym shoes to work, right? Just consider where it's coming from and try to give the person the benefit of the doubt that they're hoping to help you out. It's very hard to give constructive criticism, first of all, right? Now, a lot of people don't do it well. So sometimes if you want to give constructive criticism, there's like courses for this. You ask permission. Hey, can I say something? And I suspect you'll feel like I'm being mean to you. So if you're not in the mood for it, if it's the wrong time, but I really like to talk to you about something, right? And if they come back and say, right now it's not the time. My wife just beat me up. She kicked me down the stairs. My dog died, and I burnt my barbecue. Right? It's not a good time. Hear that, right? And hold your breath, and come back another time, right? And, maybe help them do some good barbecue without burning it. But ask permission. If it's granted, try to. I don't believe in the compliment sandwich. Hey, say something good, say something mean, wrap it up with something good. Right? I just like to call it out. Hey, this is going to sound insulting, and you're going to think I'm a dick. But can I go ahead and say it? Right? Okay, get permission. Cool. Your shoes, right? It smells like you wearing the same one from the gym, and it's distracting. Like I can get you some spray or something, but just thought you should know about it, right? This is one way to go about it, right? And you said, and you're going to be like, well, I thought you were going to say that you wanted to stab me because I'm an evil person, right? You just saying my gym shoes stink and now all that wind up, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to stop wearing my gym shoes. So it's good to handle it head on. I love Never Split the Difference. The book on negotiating Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He's really good at explaining how to kind of breach these things. So if you're suffering from this kind of communication challenges, right? Read this book. You'll find it interesting.
Great. And there's one more question. How can employees navigate workplace gossip without damaging their reputation or relationships with colleagues?
So we always have a personal brand that comes ahead of us, right? And if we don't manage that, then it's what people put on us. So know that everything you're doing, people perceive it in a certain way. And realizing that, you maybe have to consider what you do or what you say and how you sound, right? And maybe you're going to feel like you're not authentic to yourself. But that goes back to making sure you find the right place to work in the first place, right? So know that your personal brand comes ahead of you and plot that out. Know what your personal brand is so that you can get out there and be your true self and present that to the world, right? To present that in the workplace. And I think a lot of places in the world, we have the freedom to say, I don't like this place. It doesn't fit. I don't fit in here, right? And move out, right? Go away, find another job. If it's an unhealthy place for you, for your nature, go away. But start with looking at your brand first and how you're perceived, and just tailor it, work on it, right? We all start off, not all of us, but a bunch of us like myself start off a little bit rough, right? And you refine it over time. So sometimes there's good chemistry, sometimes there's bad chemistry. Sometimes it's worth working through it. Sometimes better just to find a new door.
Yeah, and that was the right thing to say, that we should build a hard skin when constructive criticism. It was really good. And Philip, this session was really enlightening for us. And before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts or advice for our viewers?
Just my final piece of advice would be to stay true to yourself and focus on your goals. Gossip is a part of the workplace, and it doesn't have to be a part of your journey, right? Don't let the gossip define you. Define yourself, know your values, be true to that. And sometimes just let it wash off, right? One thing is I do, seriously, like I'll wash my eyes, right? If I need to reset, maybe I get some holy water, go out for a walk, right? Just understand that we use how we see ourselves, how we hear things about ourselves, and understand our environment, and be true to yourself. Don't let the world define you, and enjoy your path. Define it, enjoy it, have fun, enjoy the freedom you have, guys. It's a beautiful, beautiful world.
Great advice, Phil. And to everybody who's watching, remember that your career is what you make of it. Stay focused, stay positive, and stay blessed. Keep pushing forward. Before we go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our social media channels for more insightful discussions like this. Thank you all for watching this video till end. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.
It was fun, guys. Goodbye.